Hello and welcome to The Hub. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. It has been 25 years since Hong Kong's handover to China. Despite the challenges, Hong Kong remains a vibrant economy and a global hub of finance, trade, and transport. Of course, it has not been all roses, and in recent years, Hong Kong went through a sticky patch. Now, as Hong Kong has the leadership of newly elected Chief Executive John Lee Kai-chiu, who else than one of Hong Kong's most prominent business personalities can help us scratch beneath the surface and understand what's at stake for the region. I'm very honored today to be joined by Annie Wu Suk-ching. Madam Wu is one of the founding members of the Hong Kong Federation of Women. She is a former member of the Standing Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Madam Wu, welcome to The Hub. So Madam Wu, there's so many things I want to get your take on, but let's start with mainland Hong Kong relations. We're marking the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China. Some people say the relationship between Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland is one of symbiotic interdependence, but others say Hong Kong is becoming more and more like a Chinese mainland city with Beijing's political interventions. How would you characterize the relations between the two sides?
Well, as someone born and brought up in Hong Kong, and I went through all from the, I would say, the colonial period up to the beginning of the Hong Kong HKSAR, 1st of July, 1997. I think now Hong Kong, we are on the right track to really ensure we are working on the right steps for the one country, two systems. Because since 1997 until now, for the last 25 years, we have been not really sure, the government, the Hong Kong HKSAR government, the people in Hong Kong, they don't completely understand and comprehend and how to really appreciate the value of one country, two systems. So I think with the support of the central government now, and with also the national security law enacted in Hong Kong, and also the chief executive, the president chief executive and the incoming chief executive, they know exactly what is the one country, two system. I think now we are on the right track to enjoy the one country, two system benefits.
Like you said, you witnessed it all when Hong Kong was under the rule of the British, not to the handover to now, exercising the one country, two systems principle for over 25 years. Looking back, what are your proudest moments and what are the moments that, let's say, are the most upsetting for you?
The most exciting moment was when Mr. Tung Chee-hwa tried to invite me to join his team to support his candidacy to be the chief executive for Hong Kong. So I joined his team back in 1996. And then, of course, the proudest moment, not only for me and for everyone in Hong Kong, especially for my late father, was when we were attending the flag raising ceremony of our country's national flag and the Hong Kong HKSAR flag at the midnight, exactly midnight of 1st of July, 1997. That means when Hong Kong was really returned to the motherland. And actually, Hong Kong people are going to say, Hong Kong people govern Hong Kong. And this is very important for us. We are no longer under the colonial rule. We are our own masters.
But what about the most upsetting one?
Quite disappointing was back in 2019 when we have all these riots and all the young people were completely mesmerized, or I would use the word brainwashed, by the social media, that they were destroying the society of Hong Kong, destroying the stability and affected the prosperity of Hong Kong. And I felt that was the time when really we have to really try to provide the right source of information and how we can approach our young people in Hong Kong to really let them appreciate, understand that they are enjoying so much in the one country, two system for Hong Kong.
So, Madam Wu, in 2019, you denounced a group of people who eventually turned violent during the protests at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland. And you said the views of a small group of radical protesters do not represent the view of all 7.5 million Hong Kongers. How do you explain the views of the majority heard in the West? How do you explain this reality?
Hong Kong Chinese are very timid and very scared. They don't want to voice their opinion because they're scared that people will pounce on them and criticize them. They rather want to do very quietly and go around to make some money and care about their jobs. And of course, you have lived for 8 years over in the West. The Western media is very strong, and they are all, they are all gang up to criticize and also to provide a lot of false information about Hong Kong. And anyone outside of Hong Kong can understand this. The Hong Kong government is really very suppressive, and the Hong Kong people are suffering, and the young people are doing something right to justify. And then how can you imagine a city where the young students will hold the American flag, the British flag, to say we want to go back to become a colonial place, and they want to go to USA. And if these countries are not sending the people to infiltrate the students, I don't think these students will be so pro-Western or pro-USA or pro-UK. This is really I would say, very obnoxious act. So, and also Western media, that they send all their information to Hong Kong with distorted information and news. So, of course, with the news from Hong Kong, most of our news in Hong Kong are in Chinese, in Cantonese. So the Western media will not pick it up.
We know that Beijing has passed a national security law for Hong Kong and also made requirements that only patriots can run for elected offices in Hong Kong. How do you think those legislations have impacted what's happening in Hong Kong?
This is a very necessary act, because if you look back at Singapore, the day when Singapore became independent, only patriots can try to set up the Republic of Singapore, right? And nowadays, civil servants in Singapore, if they're not patriots, I don't think they can serve in the government. But back in 1997, 1st of July in Hong Kong, because the central government said we'll allow Hong Kong people to govern Hong Kong. I personally feel the central government expect all Hong Kong Chinese are patriots. So they expected to give us a free hand and let the chief executive and the SAR government to run what they want to do for the betterment of Hong Kong. But the last 25 years show that in Hong Kong, we have not trained the young students about patriotism. And it's very important that we have to draw the line that if you are not a patriot, if you don't love your country, if you don't love Hong Kong, why should you be a civil servant? And I think I support the idea to get the civil servant to have the examination on basic law, because basic law is the rule of law for Hong Kong. And even if the civil servant does not know the rule of law for Hong Kong, how can the civil servant serve Hong Kong properly and decently?
Right. We know that there are a whole lot of grievances that the young people in Hong Kong have towards the government. And the newly elected chief executive, John Lee Kai-shuu, said this month that Hong Kong would pay greater attention to issues such as youth employment, housing, social inequalities. What measures would you say is the most appropriate to bring hope and confidence back among the Hong Kong youth at this point?
In Hong Kong, we have a lot of different types of young people. Some young people are very hardworking. I think they to be given a lot of support and opportunities. So I would look at to see how we can open more doors for the grassroots young people, because they are the mass majority. They need our support to give them more opportunity to work, to have enjoyed better jobs and to work in Hong Kong and also in the Greater Bay Area. The middle class, we have a lot of young people who are quite well off, and the parents prefer that they don't work too hard and they can support them and enjoy and pick and choose the jobs. I noticed some of my friends, they ask them, the children say, don't work too hard. Well, if not, we can still support you. Of course, the upper class and the wealthy people, we are not really trying to think about how we can open doors for them. So if I look at the opportunities and the problems in Hong Kong, is how we can support the grassroots level people, how we can give more opportunities to young people who are from that area, who are hardworking, but they don't have a ability to open the doors. So in Hong Kong, we have 18 districts. If the chief executive can go to this 18 districts and ask the district councillor to really look at how they can support certain young people who are graduating or who are not yet graduated but need more support, then I think we are going to really hit the nail on the head. It's not just saying everyone should be supported, everyone should be open the doors. I think if I were in Hong Kong serving the government, I would say, look at the grassroots level, the young people first. That's my priority.
All right. Talking about the Greater Bay Area that you briefly mentioned, how do you see that initiative in helping Hong Kong youth and young professionals in Hong Kong in terms of career and life opportunities?
It's a very big area for young Hong Kong people who wants to challenge themselves to jump across, to start from scratch in the Greater Bay Area. But unfortunately, for the last 20 years, the comfort zone of Hong Kong is so attractive that the young people prefers to enjoy life in Hong Kong, don't work too hard, but still have their friends around. So that's the attitude of a lot of young people we saw in Hong Kong. And they're scared that if they go to Greater Bay Area, they would be challenged, they would be not as competitive as in Hong Kong. But I also have seen a small group of young people from Hong Kong who actually have started from scratch in the Greater Bay Area, and now they're enjoying because they find out sky is not the limit for them. So it's very important that we have two types of young people. One type that wants to meet the challenges and have the carve a new way for themselves, a new path. some of those who say you will push them along, encourage them, they still want to stay back in Hong Kong and not to do too much. So opportunities are for those who want to take chances. And Hong Kong, we always have a freedom of choice. We can't push people around, but we can give them more chances that people who wanted to go over there, we can give them more support services through Hong Kong. And when they are there for the first year or so, to find out what jobs or what professions they are in, then we can help one by one. It's not just supporting tens or thousands. I don't believe in numbers. I believe in quality.
During the 1997 handover ceremony, Beijing guaranteed that Hong Kong's economic and political systems will remain unchanged for 50 years. We're halfway through that mark. In light of the recent events in Hong Kong, the events between the Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland, and also the geopolitical events happening around the world, how do you foresee what's happening in the next 25 years?
As someone living in Hong Kong, I think the next 25 years, life in Hong Kong will be very stable and also a lot of opportunities because we understand and fully appreciate central government has given so much to Hong Kong. I feel some of the cities in the mainland are going to be very jealous of Hong Kong getting so much benefits from the central government. You know, look at the waters, look at the supply of foodstuffs, the vegetables, the poultry, everything from mainland China. So actually, mainland China is the lifeline for Hong Kong's prosperity and stability. This will go on, and I think will go beyond 2047. This is my personal vision, all right? On the other hand, I think Hong Kong people, the young people in Hong Kong should really open up their eyes and think beyond the area, the boundary of Hong Kong. So this is something that our central government, together with us, HKSAR government in Hong Kong, should really open up their eyes, give them more chances to travel beyond Hong Kong, to go to different villages, to go to different provinces, to see for themselves. And I personally feel with the young people, their experience and they're willing to try hard beyond any causes in the mainland, the country will progress very quickly. And with the support of the central government, it's going to be a much more green country. I use the word green country, talking about healthcare and also benefits to the average person, livelihood and green mountains and I would say clean waters. So we sometimes Hong Kong, we have to learn from what is happening in the mainland. Hong Kong, we should really treasure our position and we should really more improve on our knowledge and of English and approach and resource to be well connected with the whole world beyond our country.
Madam Wu, thank you for your service and your insights and perspectives that's been shared with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.